Good day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to edX Pixel Virtual Expo for yet another session of In Conversation with David Strike. No bubbles, no troubles with Nadir. We are excited to be back after a really brief hiatus to bring you more personable and insightful sessions with our fellow professional divers. Jumping into this session, please allow me to introduce the moderator, David Strike. So David comes with a background of military, commercial, and also recreational and technical diving. As a regular speaker and also a presenter at regional and international diving events, he's also a former field editor for Asian Diver magazine, who has authored several hundred articles about diving and organized several world-class technical diving events. A recipient of the ADEX Lifetime Achievement Award for contributions to technical diving, he is also a fellow of the Explorers Club of New York. Now, moving along to the man of the hour is Nadir Quarta, a Swiss-born, started his diving career in 1989 in the mountain, rivers, and lakes of Switzerland. Qualifying as a diving instructor in 1993, his world travels as a diver took him to many rarely visited locations, including cave diving in Mexico, as well as introducing him to rebreathers and also evolving technical diving community. Now a highly regarded technical diving instructor, Nadir, through his company Zero Emissions, teaches a range of CCR courses as well as organizing expeditions to explore and also document some of the world's most iconic wreck and cave diving destination. How exciting. Herewith, without any further ado, let me just hand over this session to David. David, over to you.
Thank you, Nora. So, Nadir, welcome. And it's been quite it's been about 3 years, hasn't it? 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Since we last caught up, thanks to COVID. So it's really good to see you, and thank you for joining me. Just for the benefit of the people that don't know exactly where you are, tell us where you are in the world at the moment.
Hi, David. Thanks for inviting me here. And at the moment, I'm in Switzerland, so at home in the south part of Switzerland, which is called the sunny part of Switzerland.
Right.
Unfortunately, because this means that I can travel. But I think that soon I will resume all the traveling and visiting some of the iconic places that Nora told before.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly, hopefully, we'll talk about some of those during the next little while. But you've got a background in obviously diving, but also sailing. That's your other love. You took up sailing at a very early age, and sailing is not something that's readily associated with people from Switzerland. So it's more sort of Toblerone and Swiss Army knives, but sailing. How did you get into sailing?
Well, in Switzerland, there's a lot of lakes and with a lot of boating around. And I have the luck to be in one of the big lake shared between Switzerland and Italy. And that's why I began so early with my uncle, actually, to go in on a small boat, and he pretended me to learn to swim before. And that's why I had a good contact with water at the early age, very early, I think around 5 years old, something like that. And then I kept doing that. I kept going with boat whenever I can. And at 16 years old, I think, I began to race sailing with friends. And,
still in Switzerland?
Yeah,
on the lakes?
On the lakes, yeah. And then, voila, I did all the license possible, and I sailed a lot on the sea around.
Yeah.
Not so much as every day, but yeah, enough.
And one of the other things that sort of fascinates me when I asked you, just for some highlights, and you said your first dry cave diving, oh, it's not diving, your first dry caving experience was at the age of 16 and you got lost.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I'm always fascinated by people that get lost in caves.
Well, yeah, I'm always been curious, and so every cavern, hole, cave, whatever, I've always been in. And at this age, I didn't have the car, and of course, I couldn't tell my mother, "Look, I go for a day in a cave. Otherwise, she will put me in jail, probably." And then I went with some friends. We took a train, and we had to go for, maybe it's not that far away, like 40 kilometers away from here. And we went inside the cave with zero knowledge generally. And it was supposed to be an easy cave with just a tunnel and some small side tunnel around. But on the way back, on the way in, we didn't spot a second tunnel coming from underneath. So on the way back, with the lights being almost like nothing, just one with the battery almost flat, so you can imagine the light was like maybe, I don't know, 30 centimeters in front of us, and we did miss the main tunnel, and we went in the second. And fortunately, I have a good feeling of where I find myself in the space. So after a while, I said, "We are wrong. We have to go back, because here is not the tunnel where we came in. It's too far away." And then it's why when a couple of the other two friends, or one especially, began to cry, and the other cursing, and yeah, it was like a bit a mess, but we came out.
And then you went back in again several times, I believe.
Yeah, because I couldn't accept to have been there and being lost. So stupidly, actually. So the second time I went in, and but with some better stuff to work with. So with real lights, real lines, and so on. And I realized it was really a stupid error.
I suppose it was like progressive penetration into a wreck or somewhere as well, that being able to go back and back and back to the thing and gradually, get used to where you're going.
Right.
But moving on into diving. So what attracted you to diving? There you were sailing and getting lost in caves. What attracted you to diving?
As I said, I've been in the water since a very early age, so probably was kind of natural way to follow. But I think around 89, more or less, I did the first dives, real dives in some of the ponds that we have in the mountains. We have some fantastic rivers with crystal water. The depth is around between 5 and 8 meters. And so I began there with friends.
Right.
And then I kept doing this kind of dive for a couple of years, maybe. And then the first real dive in ocean was in Australia.
Really? So you weren't certified when you were doing these other dives?
No, I came back because I was traveling between Australia and China, and so I pick up 3 days of travel on a boat on.
Right.
I think it was Green Island.
Yeah.
Green Island outside Cairns somewhere. Yeah. And there I did a couple of dives, and I didn't have time to do any training. And when I came back, I finally found a PADI open water class, and so I started in 93.
Right. And where did you do that? Which part of Australia were you in then? Still in Cairns or?
No, the training was in Switzerland, once back in Switzerland.
Right.
Mm.
And that was the PADI certification.
Yeah, exactly.
So you then set up a dive center on the lake in Switzerland.
Yeah.
You weren't an instructor or anything. You just decided to set up a dive center.
Yeah, the passion, because after in 1994, I did a around the world travel for the entire year. And I went back in Australia again for 2.5 months, something like that. So I drove around Australia, and I have to go back. And and once back, speaking with a couple of friends, we decided to start a dive center. We had there were so many people asking for it, and actually, since the beginning, it was really full. Plenty of people asking for training, and my buddy wasn't able to do everything by himself. So he asked me, "Look, you have to do instructor now." So I had to.
So that was literally being thrown in at the deep end.
Yeah, because we had and it wasn't the period of the big number of the diving industry. It was already more quiet than before, but still we did 20, 30 classes per month, and it wasn't the main job.
Wow.
It was
that was pretty sort of full on.
Yeah, it was a good ambient, because we did organize every maybe couple of weeks long weekend on to the sea. Yeah. So where we booked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for diving, and usually on Sunday nobody did anything but stay in the bed or doing something else, because on the Saturday night was always the big party. And but this drew a lot of people because of it was like a kind of family. It was funny. So oh yeah, we want to come also. What do we have to do? Oh well, yeah, open water class. Oh, okay.
That was one way of attracting students, isn't it? Yeah. Whereabouts? So you were doing, so it was freshwater diving that they were starting off in, and then you put them in the ocean. Whereabouts?
In Italy.
Right.
Most of the time in Italy, because it's like 2.5 hour driving from here. So it's there's not that far away. So it's also easy to go there for the weekend or so. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been delightful.
Yeah, actually.
So how long did you do that for, Nadir?
4 years.
Right.
Yeah, 4 years. And then I left, I sold my parts to the other buddies, and I began the solo career with technical diving, actually.
Right. You took off to Mexico.
The first time in Mexico was during the period of the dive center.
Right.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And it was when I did the first cave dive. Yeah. It was in 1997.
Whereabouts did you do that?
Eh?
Whereabouts was the cave?
In Yucatan, in Playa del Carmen, and from there. The first time in 1997, the first cave dive was near Merida, north of Yucatan. And we popped up in an hotel looking for a dive center. It was supposed to be there, but nothing around. And I just saw a guy at the bar wearing a dive watch. So I said, probably he's a diver. So I asked him, and actually he was a cave diver. And so we began to go around together and dive together. And he drew me in a couple of caves. I really don't remember the name. No, quite complicated. But it was funny because one of them, we had to drive for more or less 45 minutes from Merida. And then we have to look for a chart pulled by horses. So we had to find the chart. We have to find the horses and two boys to drive the horses and the car. Put them on a rail, a special rail made that was used to transport some product that they did in the small town. And usually when you travel on this rail, you cross other people coming from the factories or the jungle or whatever. So you're supposed to bring your chart outside of the rails, wait that they pass, and then put everything on. Unless that we had two chart and plenty of dive gears. And it was quite funny to do it in the jungle because you didn't have a lot of space to do it. But it was fun.
Was that your first experience of cave diving?
Yeah, right.
Did it? And obviously it sort of grabbed you. You were.
Yeah, absolutely. When you begin to go there and you see what's underneath, you say, okay, I think I missed probably the better part of the world. So I began there to visit as much as possible.
Yeah. And what were you were using open circuit all of this time?
Yeah. Open circuit. Yeah. Actually, I was already intrigued by CCR, but wasn't until 97 that later in the 97 I began with the semi-closed. But at this time it was anyway open circuit.
What was that? The Drager?
Yeah, the Drager, the Dolphin, the Ray, and it was by chance, but a friend of mine had a shop, and he decided to order 3 Drager Dolphin and 2 Ray, hoping to do a big deal, but actually it didn't because it didn't train anyone, and they didn't sell any unit. So he kept asking me, you want to do the training? No, not on this thing. Well, because I need someone who come with me. Look, I can come with open secret, but it's not the case. Yeah, okay, come on, Laura. So I train you for free, so you can follow me and you can come with me, so I'm not alone. Okay. So it started. And
yeah, it was quite interesting, those Dragers, because everyone at the time was saying, "Oh, this is going to revolutionize the way diving's sort of taught, and it'll be entry-level divers will immediately start learning on these," and it all sort of fizzled out.
Yeah, I think it was too early, probably.
Yeah.
And January, I think the recreational units are not so bad still now, but I think the price versus the real use of them, it's not so good understood.
Yeah, and that's
cheap.
Is that what sort of kicked you off? So it was that sort of combination of the cave diving in Mexico and then trying the semi-closed. Is that what kicked you off, or your interest in technical diving?
I began to dive with twin tanks in beginning of '96. Right. So I can't call them technical dives because it was everything in deep air and trying to guess what to do for the compression. And I began real technical diving in '98 after formal training on technical diving.
Right.
But before this, I did some big dives. A couple of times relying on a friend who used to work for a French company, hard hat company, and who used to live in Geneva, the French part of Switzerland. And once I called him saying, look, I have to go down in a wreck in the Mediterranean, one of the big wrecks. But I can't go there with air because I would like to go a little bit deeper than 60. Oh, yeah, okay. Then you have to use heliox. Okay, what do I have to do? I come here, I explain you. So I went there, he filled the tanks with heliox, and he said, okay, now you can use some tables and just come up very, very slowly, and you will feel much better than usual. Okay, so I did, and who was the first?
Sorry, this is
technical dive.
This is seat of the pants sort of diving, isn't it?
Well, anyway, it was better than air. So
right. And what equipment were you using with the heliox?
Twin tanks, the twin 12, and normal. I did use the Poseidon regulator at this time, and that's it. But I always said the time that I need something bigger than a twin 12, I will change the finality on rebreather. That's why then I swap to CCR.
And then you did exactly that and swapped to the...
Yeah, exactly. Still now, I can understand how people can just jump out of the water on some small stairs on boat without the lift with twin 15 or 18 or something big. No, probably I'm too lazy.
But now all of this time you were still sailing, of course, weren't you? So you also did your skipper's ticket.
Yeah, and then I sailed a lot in the Mediterranean.
Right.
And the Caribbean also. And the Caribbean was funny because in the between Martinica and Grenada, and it was funny because sometime I left the wheels to France, and I just jumped in the water to see what's underneath. And I think I missed for probably 4 or 5 minutes group of sperm whale. I think they were there sleeping or anyway swimming, and unfortunately I missed them. But anyway, I didn't have the GoPro or any camera, so
wow.
But it was funny.
Well, that would have been quite an experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And there I saw for the first time an octopus. I was doing snorkeling in a bay. I saw an octopus coming from nowhere and going on an anchor, and it disappeared. It's unbelievable to explain. It's not like to see it. I saw him going on the anchor and disappearing. So you didn't see anything, just the anchor. It's unbelievable, this animal.
I saw one, funnily enough, I saw one. We went diving on Tuesday in Sydney Harbour, and there was a most beautiful octopus I saw there, and it disappeared into a hole, and from this huge octopus, just disappeared. Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but they are amazing critters. So after this, you're technical diving. And then you began to actively look for the closed circuit. You decided closed circuit was the way to go?
Yeah. Well, I was always intrigued by these machines. And I remember when I was in Miami, I used to live there for a short period. And I heard about a guy staying... I don't remember how many hours, a lot of hours underwater with a unit, which was actually a Bill Stone with the Cis Lunar. And so the cislunar entered in my mind, and it's really a piece of history in the rebreather community. It's I own one, still working, and I can say that it could really again today teach something. At this time, this unit had already the pre-dive checklist. You could choose between different kind of sorb and multiple electronic, etc., etc. Double HUD display, and the BOV, the ADV, and all the unit began to have it just 2004, and now it's standard, but it took a while. The only problem was that the cislunar was a little bit expensive.
Yes.
It wasn't the cheapest piece of kit around, and but it was the concept that I did like, really.
It has got a good provenance, hasn't it? The well, yeah, it's still it was the basis for the Poseidon one, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Some parts, yeah. The concept around to have something that can take some efforts and some efforts away from the diver, because finally the wiki chain, it's the diver, not the machine. The machine is practically, you can say, stupid, because the machine do what you tell her to do. So
what were you? So this is while you were in Florida. What sort of diving were you doing over there in Florida?
Ocean. So in Key Largo or Miami, outside South Miami, and not so much actually, because I did advanced open water in Australia, same year but later. So I was too busy doing party around Miami Beach and so on.
Right. And what? Because you also did some work with Tom Mount as well.
No, I was in touch with him because of the cislunar, and it was funny because it was, I think, one of the first instructor and anyway owner of INTD, and he always said me, forget this unit, too complicated, take the Megalodon. This is it just came out, and actually I think 99 or something like this came out, the Megalodon, or 2000. So at the early stage of the unit, he kept saying, no, take the Megalodon, it's a good unit, it's easy. The cislunar is too big, too huge, too complicated, and so on. So then, anyway, I didn't choose the Megalodon, didn't choose any the cislunar, but especially for the price.
Right. So after that, did you actually sort of invest in one of the closed circuit rebreathers then, or? I know in the end you said you decided to build your own.
Yeah, right. With some a little bit of fantasy. Well, actually, to build a rebreather mechanical is not a big deal. And the problem is it's always the control of the oxygen and stuff like this. And fortunately, I think between the triangle between Switzerland, French, and Germany had a huge community of home build rebreather, modified, whatever they found. And so the knowledge was a little bit more developed, so I did it, and the concept was to have everything as safe as possible, so it was too heavy actually. And in the 2 years I used it, 2 years more or less, I modified it a lot with plenty of experiment. I cut the filter, and I do it shorter with 2 kilos of soft-no-lime. I always use soft-no-lime. And the counterlines under the arms, here, and well, plenty of stuff. And I'm still here. So probably I think because of luck, not because of particular capacity of of building something.
Because this was at a time when there seemed to be groups all over the place. I know there was here in Australia, we had the amateur rebreather group, and they were home builds as well. So
Yeah.
it seemed a very sort of popular thing to do at that sort of stage. Where were you getting the equipment from? For example, the counterlungs, or did you just go into the local sort of do-it-yourself hardware store?
Yeah, most of it, yes. The counterlungs were some paramedic stuff,
Right.
medical stuff, because I wanted they were the only that I find with two small rings on the bottom, which gave me the possibility to, with a carabiner, to connect on the front, so to have them under the armpit.
Yeah.
And well, the volume was too big, but it wasn't. I didn't care about the volume. You know, the knowledge was a little bit limited. So that's why I always say, for all tools who begin like to modify and do some home build and stuff like this nowadays, with all the units around, also good used units, and probably is not the best way to go.
Yeah. You survived though. How long were you using it for? Did you say 2 or 3 years?
3 years, I think, 2.5 years, more or less. And I did the last dive down to 115 or 18 meters, something around that. And everything was absolutely perfect. I didn't have any single problem, not at the bottom, not on the surface, once back, nothing at all. Just the feeling of the survivor feelings when I come back on the surface, as I said, there's something wrong. Okay, time to stop playing with this trap and go.
Sorry, where were you doing these dives? In Switzerland, in the lakes, or?
Yeah, in the lake. Yeah, in the lake.
Right. Just as a matter of interest, how cold are those lakes?
In winter, it's in the surface is down to 5 degrees, more or less, and under the surface, the surface the same.
Wow.
Quite cold.
Yeah.
But the cold keep you young. You see.
I feel a bit of a wimp now. I was whinging about how cold it was here. It's winter. It was down to 16 degrees the other day.
Oh wow, that's really cold, huh?
Yeah. So
16 degrees.
You survived the home build rebreather. Did you still? I bet you still kept it, didn't you? It's still sort of locked away in a cupboard somewhere in your home, is it?
Well, I took it apart and I used many parts to do a continuous flow mixing system.
Right.
And it was it was okay. I did use it for the next 8 years probably.
Wow.
So it was good.
But then sort of wisdom stepped in and you decided to blame someone else for anything that might go wrong. and
exactly.
Yeah. It's always a good ploy, that one. And what was your next unit? What because obviously you were really taken with closed circuit at that stage.
I did the training on the inspiration.
Right.
And then the idea was to buy the inspiration, the vision, the evolution, because it was supposed to come out on the market soon. But then I saw the Ouroboros, especially because I I used to work to have good contact with the VR technology, and I knew Simon Pridmore and Kevin and so on. And when I heard about the Ouroboros, the concept was really fantastic. And when I saw it, I said, okay, I want one. So I bought the Ouroboros, and I remember Phil Short, when I met him, came here from all the way from England with a night train with 2 units, mine and his units, and I picked him up in the nearby station, and we began the training here with the Ouroboros.
What? So Phil trained you?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
In beginning of 2005.
Yeah. He's a lovely guy, isn't he, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. It's of course it's a good diver, but the way he do everything gave me an example to follow. Yeah. So you can hang out with him, but when he begin to dive or to do a training or work, it's completely different, like on off. And
the total sort of professional.
Yeah, right. Really.
Yeah.
And I still meet him regularly. So. Yeah.
And whereabouts were you doing the training for this? Once again, in the lakes in Switzerland?
In the lake. Yeah. In the lake, because in this period, like summer, it's a bit difficult for me to go around, because I'm director of a marina and here on the lake. So summer is really the hottest moment of the year, so I can drive or go around. So we did it here.
Right. So you're still sailing, of course.
Yeah, I'm. My office is really directly on the lake, so I swim on the lake.
Right.
It's floating on the lake.
Do you swim year round in the lake there?
No, because it's too cold, the water.
Oh, good.
I can swim, but I like the cold. But to go in the water, the cold water, no, it has to be at least 26 degrees. Then I begin to think about it.
Yes.
Otherwise.
Yeah. I'm always, I must say, I'm always amazed by people that do enjoy that sort of really icy cold sort of swimming. It's, no.
Yeah, respect, but, well.
And what happened? You then set up, when did you set up Zero Emissions? That's your own sort of diving company.
2006 or 7, I don't remember exactly, more or less, something like that. And Zero Emissions, because I was focused on the rebreather. So zero emission, it's quite clear. So no emissions, no CO2 going out, no bubble going out.
Yeah.
This was the concept.
And what was the aim of it? Zero Emissions. What were you aim to do? Just teach closed circuit?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, not only closed circuit, also open circuit. But the focus was technical diving in with CCR. And then Beatrice Rivoira joined me like 8 years ago. And she began doing the same, especially on the open circuit part.
Right. And since then, you've done a lot of exploration work, sort of in various parts of the world.
Well, exploration is a big word. I visit many what I think are iconic places, and already explored by many people before me. But yeah, I had the luck to go to track with Pete Mesley, and it was really fantastic. Wow, to dive there with 3 millimeters or even without, doing almost nothing instead, but diving. It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
I would like to go back there, but it's more close to you than to me.
Yes, well, it is, but it still takes a long, long while to get there.
Yeah, that's the point.
Even for us. What you also you've done a lot of trips to Scarpa Flow as well. The records there.
I began, the first was in 2008, I think, 2007 or 8. And the place is amazing. I expected better views, better wrecks, but the first time. But then you understand what the kind of wrecks, the history of those wrecks, and the history around those islands, and then everything regarding the islands. It's really fascinating. Distillery, which is very important. And so I began to go back there, and every 2 year maybe.
Right. Was there any particular wrecks that sort of appeal more than others, or?
Everyone. The wrecks of the German fleet, they are the most, are more interesting. Unfortunately, they are quite destroyed because they tried to salvage them.
Yeah.
So they did something, and of course, what is left, it's not in a great shape. And then you have the 3 battleship upside down, like almost every battleship, and you can still go underneath the bridge, so you are flat on the bottom. And you can see the guns and many details, and you can still go inside. So you have to be careful, of course. It's not something I can suggest to everyone, but yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. So how many times have you been back to Scarpa? Quite a lot.
I think 8, probably. 8,
wow.
Yeah, probably 8. The last time, 2 years ago, for the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the fleet.
Yeah.
Phil was with us for the first week, and he did his 6,000 dive there. And I still have a picture somewhere with him with a table with 6,000 written there.
Wow.
And it was funny because I think it was one of the battleship. Anyway, we went inside and trying to follow a path to the end of the battleship, but I stopped by myself, looking around of the details, etc. He went ahead, so at some point I lost him, and I said, okay, maybe it's better to come back from the way I know instead of looking for him. And he went out from the other part of the ship and came back there. And
see, getting lost in that cave at the age of 16 paid dividends.
Yeah, right.
It did. You remembered how to get back out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always.
So, and where else have you been expeditioning? You went to Malta, didn't you, with some of the guys?
Yeah, I went there with the Great Thornton family and with Ed Stockdale, and me and B, and Steve Wilkinson, which is live in Malta. And the goal was to visit a wreck that was found in 130 meters of water. And at the end, we couldn't dive it.
Why was that, Nadir? Why couldn't you dive it?
No permits.
Ah, right. Okay.
And so we dove all the other wrecks around. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very good company. All of them. Ed was a little bit upset because of the missing permission. But then, yeah, it was a good and funny week. And with us was also Boris Dio, former NBA player. And I didn't realize it, who he was. I don't follow NBA, but still. And then I discovered after probably a couple of days, was funny because he has a huge catamaran, and I did understand that he was working on this catamaran, and then we visited the boat, and I said, but the owner is never here. Of course he's here. I am. You're the owner. Oh, sorry. I didn't understand that he was the cook or something. Well, it was funny.
It's
great people.
That would have been a superb trip to be on, I think, with Randy and co.
Yeah. All of them are really funny, and it was a good relationship between everyone, and it's nice to see how close the three, Josh, Michael, and Randy, are close together. Really, it's a great family.
They seem to be a very close knit family.
Yeah.
So where else? And where have you been cave diving since Mexico?
Italy, some sea caves in Italy many years ago, and France, and in the Lot is the Dordogne.
Right,
lovely place. Also lovely place. The caves are very nice, but the villages around, fantastic. You will like them. Some kind of old villages on small cliff and stuff like this. Really, it's amazing, the place.
Yeah.
And then Bahamas with
Brian.
Brian. Wow, I think Dan Caves. It's Ralph of Dan Cave. I think Dan Caves was probably the most beautiful cave I ever saw in my life. Crystal everywhere. It's wow, such a piece of art made by crystal, because of the water level coming up and down in the course over the last 1,000 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So at some point, the water dropping from above did some kind of flowers made by crystal, some strange formation. That's fantastic. And you can go there just inside Mount. And sometime Brian is there protecting all the places, doing like a policer, an officer in the traffic. Okay, you can come. Okay, the next. That's fantastic.
He's been there for quite some while, hasn't he? Sort of exploring and developing.
I think more or less 30 years. I think. And it's not exploring. It's a huge part of his work, but it's also the knowledge that he tried to pass to all the people who visit him, or also the people from Bahamas. It's a good organization, and it's good to support also, because it's not always so easy, especially after the last hurricane. So, well,
yes, they took a bit of a pasting there, didn't they?
Yeah, right. It was a mess.
Yeah. Well, you were there after the hurricane?
No, I was there before.
All right.
Before, before. And then Florida, because I know many people, so it's always nice to go back there to meet them. And also the easygoing. It's a place where yet I never rarely closed the car, and never had a problem. Never found a broken window. No, nothing. And it's easy because, as I told you before, I'm quite lazy, so I like to wake up in the morning easily and slowly, and then go for a dive with my time, and then
Ease
there you
gently into the day.
exactly
Yeah.
not too rushed, and there you can, because we stay always in a bungalow when we are there, and you can do whatever you like. Take your time, and
Yeah.
little by little we rented a box where we left plenty of gears. Now is really a lot. There's a couple of rebreathers and dry suit and drill tanks and whatever. So the concept is to fly very light, as light
What
as
are
possible.
you what are you diving now? What's your latest rebreather?
Most of time the Liberty side mount,
Right.
because it's a great piece of kit. Liberty has a great support, and so it's very easy also to deal with the customers and students, because you are supported very good, and especially the side mount, because it's so easy and so comfortable, and you can go out of the water without all the weight that you used to carry before.
Yeah.
No, it's a great piece of kit. They always are developing something new and something good. Yeah, but still, I teach and dive a bit with the Red Bear and with the Inspiration also.
So how many rebreathers do you actually teach? Are you qualified on?
I teach on 3:
Right.
Red Bear, the Inspiration, and the Liberty.
Right.
Qualified on some others. Ouroboros, the Pathfinder, the Kiss. I don't remember. Many of them I dove many of them, but I didn't do the certification. Like on the Cis Lunar, there isn't any certification. There is, but who?
Yeah.
Who can teach you? And so anyway, I dive it just shallow water to keep it working, not to do big stuff. And on the Ouroboros, yeah, I still dive the Ouroboros sometime.
Because a lot of your diving is in the lakes in Switzerland. What is there to see?
Sorry?
What do you see in the lakes in Switzerland?
Like nothing. No. No.
I mean, there must be some attraction that keeps you sort of diving in the lakes there.
Well, actually, anyway, some wrecks, some fishes, not that much actually. I keep saying I'm lucky enough to be on a lake, so I can jump in the water just for diving, and that's it. But there's also some very nice walls, karst walls, going down to 100 and 200 meters, which are really fantastic. Yeah. There's a spot in the middle of the lake, the Italian part of the lake, where these walls are really amazing. Really wide walls.
Yeah.
Plenty of cracks and little cavern holes and some flat stuff. It's good. At least there's this. And the wrecks I'm talking about are not big wrecks. So small stuff like big boats or stuff like that.
It still qualifies as a wreck, though.
Yeah. Yeah. More or less. Okay.
It was, and one of the things, because we're getting close to the end of the time, but I was really taken with, and here's the plug for the book, the Dining with Divers. Nadir had a recipe, a great recipe, I hasten to add, but also.
Did you try it?
Of course.
Okay.
Mate. Well, when I say did I try it, no, Sylvia tried it. I ate it.
Oh, okay.
the memorable dive is perhaps one of the most memorable dives that I've heard. It was, we were talking about the temperature of the lakes in winter. So tell a little bit about your memorable dive. Can you remember? This was in winter. You had some students, you were due to dive. You had to travel and dive to the lake in a freezing cold, 10-kilometer journey to the lake to meet the students. 5 degrees in the water.
Yeah.
It was snowing.
Yeah.
And the students had 2 dives to do. So you did the first one, got out, hot tea, and then after about 30 minutes, hop back in for the second dive, about 40 plus minutes. Everyone got out and rushed to the pub nearby for a meal and to get warm, apart from you.
Yeah, that's always.
And you had to do an introductory dive for someone with a rebreather. So you hopped back in for a third dive and then eventually got out again into the pub. And your most memorable dive was diving into the hot bath.
Exactly.
And I thought, well, now there is a memory. As you said, it's perhaps not the wisest thing to do after a dive.
Exactly, but still.
But it did remind, funnily enough, there was that sort of guy, George Wookie, set the world depth record back in the 50s. And he spent hours and hours decompressing and in the cold, and that was the first thing he did as well. Hopped into a hot bath afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Nadir, we're coming very, very close to the end of the session. So once again, thank you very much for joining me. It was great to see you. We hopefully will catch up again at one of the dive shows.
Hopefully, yeah, for sure.
Now, before you go, I do have to ask, because I keep looking right behind you, is a ship's bell.
Good eyes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long story. Maybe another interview.
So, which ship did that fall from?
It was this one. It was a small wreck in a lake.
Still qualifies.
Yeah, absolutely. Not small, not so small, but still.
Yeah.
I can't say much more, but.
And just because we do have a couple of minutes left, what when you started Zero Emissions, one of the things that I believe you wanted to do was to teach safe diving practice. Can you sum up your philosophy there, safe diving?
Yeah, safe diving is to think and to plan ahead. So to have the knowledge and how to say to be honest with yourself and to understand if you're out of your comfort zone, if you're doing something beyond you, beyond your ability or capacity. And with all this, try to prevent issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit the way to anticipate everything, and not to leave anything at the lack of the moment, because it's not always the case. That's why I really sustain.
I was about to say, yes, Gareth's book. Yeah.
Gareth is doing a really great job, and now he has some instructors are probably coming out in the next month. So the word will be spread more and more, and keep going on like this.
Yeah.
Because it's never enough.
Don't be frightened to say no, is the watchword.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
Mate, I think we're now sort of coming to the end of the session. And at any moment now, Nora will leap into the picture. And there she is.
Hey, Nora.
Nadir, mate, as I said, thank you once again. That really
Thank
was good. And I do look forward to sharing a beer or two or three.
Absolutely.
Or 4
100.
next time we catch up. Mate.
Absolutely. Hope as soon as possible.
Nora.
Yes. So, on behalf of ADEX and the community that's listening at the moment, we'd like to say thank you so much to Nadir for such a fantastic and sharing of your journey into diving, and of course your love
Thanks.
for everything there is underwater. And I'm very jealous that you get to go to Den Cave and see those beautiful stuff. Yeah, so you're very, very lucky, man. So I would
Thanks.
also say thank you to Strikey for doing this, and we look forward to see everyone in person. Maybe, hopefully, in the next ADEX, most probably physical show. I hope.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's about it from my end. Strikey, do you want to say anything else?
No, other than next week, we've got yet another session.
Yes, correct. So on the 8th of July, please do not forget to join us again, because we do have two very, very, sessions that one should not miss. One is, of course, a in conversation session with Vic Valinden, and that is, I think, if I'm not wrong, let me just check the time. Just give me a moment.
It's right on the tip of my tongue, but I've forgotten it.
It always happens. Just give me a moment. Okay. Oh yeah, there it is.
16:30.
Yes. Don't miss out for another session of In Conversation at where they're gonna be talking about the art of exploration with Vic Valentin at 4:30 p.m. And of course, on the very same day, there's also a panel discussion that's going to be talking about diving myth and also misconceptions. So this is, of course, moderated by David Stride, and also joined with him is Jane Bowman, Dr. Don Kernagis, Natalie Leslin, Phil Short, Paul Toomer, and Steve Louise. So don't
Next week.
Yeah,
so Nadir,
Uh-huh.
that's what book in next week.
Absolutely. I can miss it.
Yeah. Okay. Nadir, thank you once again. Nora,
Thank you, guys.
you. And catch you all later.
Yep, absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.